It's time for Let's Get Real with your host from Bob Richards and Associates, Bob Richards.
Well, Bob Richards, how the heck are you?
Michael, here we are again.
Wow. It's amazing. It's like we never left.
I know. Yeah, the days go by so fast, and these podcasts go by so fast, and life goes by so fast.
It goes by a little too fast. Well, our last podcast was about disclosure, and we kind of previewed what's happening in today's podcast. I understand it's all about price. I understand that Chapter 1, verse 1 is location, location, location. What's Chapter 1, verse 2?
Yeah, it is just that, Michael. It is price, price, and price. Now, you probably have seen a TV commercial with Jonathan from Colonial Penn that says, it's all about price, price, and price. Okay, I'm not here to duplicate him by any means, but the subject matter is valid for insurance, and certainly it's valid for home sales and home purchases. And so that's why we're here today to talk about that.
Cool. Well, let's kick this thing off.
Okay.
So how does price affect market conditions if you're a buyer and if you're a seller?
So let's talk about buyer. And again, let's get real into the market and the nuts and bolts of working as a buyer to purchase or looking as a seller to sell. So buyers have the ability to control the market in the fact that they can give feedback, they can give honest answers, comments about what they liked and maybe didn't like about the house, things that they would do differently, hopefully providing that to their realtor, who then can tell the other realtor, hey, here's what my clients had to say. And maybe that listing agent can talk to the seller and say, hey, maybe we ought to change this or adjust this or tweak that based upon comments from potential buyers. Not all buyers are that way, but potentially that could be the case. Sellers have the desire to get absolutely the most possible amount of money in their pocket when all is said and done, and so they have the ability to raise the price according to the preparation of the house prior to it going up for sale on the market. If they have it just trashed and aren't doing a thing, weeds are all over the place, it's unkempt, it smells, that does have an effect on price because it's going to lower the price commensurate with what the condition is. If you have something that's primed and staged and presentable and just wow, then that price can be elevated because buyers are like, I don't have to do anything here. This looks great. I can move right in.
Yeah.
And as a result of that extra convenience can put more dollars into the seller's pocket.
So what about things like I'm selling a house, and I have these great big windows overlooking this beautiful view. It's absolutely incredible. In fact, I can see it right now. I've got an oversized 3-car garage. I've got a fenced backyard. I have a big covered patio with vanity sinks in the master bathroom. I touch a little button and my TV comes up out of the floor.
Whoa.
Do those things affect price?
You know what? They kind of, they definitely do. They definitely do. And man, I love your vivid imagination. That's impressive.
Thank you. I can, we'll talk about 1969 in Lauderdale.
Okay. All right.
Good thing I didn't wear my paisley shirt.
Yeah.
So all those types of things, like upgrades and all that. So it could have the same square footage as the house next door, but if it's got all this other cool stuff in there, you've got a better shot of getting a higher
You absolutely
price.
do. And more buyers and more interest, and you get that traction in activity and showings, then you might find a buyer out bidding somebody else to say, I got to have this. And the other buyer's like, well, I got to have this. And then they get into maybe a price war with each other. And the seller's like, hey, this is awesome. Love this.
Well, what about sellers' emotions? Do they sometimes get in the way of the price? I remember when I sold a house several years ago, and I was very emotional about certain things because things had value to me that I know didn't have any value to the person who was buying the house. But I'd look at over here and it was like, well, this is the wall where we measured the kids' height from year to year. And isn't that special? And this is the place where Sean had his first birthday party. And, and I think things like that tend to get in the way of what the real value is.
They really do. I'm shocked sometimes that people bring up those same exact things, and others that you're just like, really? Yeah. Really? Are you is April Fool's Day today? You just like, no way, that they're not. Yeah, they are. They're thinking that has value to it, and it doesn't. So, but it's not just about sticks and bricks. It's not just saying, well, this house is the same because this wall is the same, and this. There is a difference in what you do. You could buy a home out at Sun River and pay $100,000 in upgrades, or you could go out to Sun River and pay $30,000 in upgrades, and it's the same floor plan. Mm-hmm. So, that's just one example.
Yeah. So I understand that the seller will get emotion, can be emotional about this. And it's your job as the realtor to kind of talk them down off the ledge.
Ledge.
Okay, well, this really has no market value because the prospective buyer could kind of care less. But are there instances where perhaps the seller's emotions get transferred to the realtor, and the realtor may also have emotions and get caught up in the whole process and go, wow, Mr. Seller, you're right. This is a very special home.
Yep.
And does that ever happen where a realtor could lose perspective?
Yes, and look at those kids on that wall, how you've measured them. That's just... Oh yeah, you got to keep things in perspective. You, as a realtor, you can't buy in to the seller's wishes. Respect them, absolutely respect them. You don't put them down and say that's stupid. What are you thinking? But you have to, in your own mind, stay objective to what is really being presented to you and what the true market value will be, regardless of if the walls were put up in a bedroom between father and two sons that just was a special experience. That's great. Keep those memories, but don't necessarily equate that to value. In fact, don't equate it to value
at all.
At all.
Well, I know one of the things we're going to talk about today is market value. But before we get into market value, I understand that since we're speaking of emotions, understand that you have a home that you would like to share to help stir up the buyer's emotions. You'd like to have them see and buy.
It's interesting that as you described that house just a couple minutes ago, it exists. It's alive.
Where is it?
So,
oh my gosh, there it is.
This is a great house out in Southgate, Michael. It is right by the Southgate Golf Course, but it's elevated up above everybody else. So you have some great views. See those big windows that you were talking about there? Isn't that kind of cool? And so those windows inside the great room and kitchen, you can see all of downtown, Pine Valley Mountain. You've got views out towards the east, towards Zion National Park, but you have no neighbors looking down on you. There's no fishbowl. We've got a nice office entry here on the left-hand side, built-in bookcases, has its own entrance as well. And so if you have a little home-based business or something of that nature, you've got a nice, huge, great room. Look at the stone all around that wall there. It's really quite fascinating. Gives it a nice, rugged, timeless look. Gas fireplace there. Large kitchen. We got 2 island bars there. Cabinets galore. Great tile. Very easy to maintain on the floor there. Large dining area. The 2 French doors there on the right-hand side lead you to the backyard. The backyard, huge patio. Gas fireplace, just very spacious to entertain, and it's a south side back patio, so you're not barbecuing your burgers and yourself. Didn't quite get that right, but I did. So this is it's priced at $925 right now. We are going to be, by the time this hits market, our podcast that is, we'll be at $895, and so that's a significant price adjustment, price correction, price improvement that should make somebody that really would like to have a beautiful custom home make it theirs as well. Total square footage on this, let me just grab my notes here, is 2736, one level, big garage, 3-car. That's a sizable home.
That's a sizable home.
Yeah.
So $895.
$895.
I should get 2 of them.
You know what? You really should.
I think I should.
Yeah.
let's not tell Linda.
Oh, we won't. We won't.
I think it's a beautiful home, and I think that $895, it's definitely a fair market price. So what does fair market price mean?
Great question. And what I thought market price was when we listed this house at $955.
Yeah.
And now we're going to $895. You're thinking, Bob, dude, are you losing your touch? Why have you had to drop that? Yeah. Why have you had to drop this price home? And so market value can be determined by market conditions such as interest rates, economic conditions, jobs, supply, demand, and then also it can be indicated by what buyers say. And that really is, or don't say. If I don't get any showings on a house, I'm like, well, hey, I think we overshot the mark.
Yeah.
So we make that correction down until we start to see buyers looking. And I say, okay, we're there. We know exactly where the sweet spot is because people are now taking a look at the house.
Oh, well, that's good to know. What's time on market nowadays in this area?
Good question. We're at 83 right now. So we were at 78 just a couple, 3 months ago. So it's raised a little bit, but it's 105 degrees out there. So not everybody is out buying and have enough copper tone or Hawaiian tropic on them to stave off the Mr. Sun.
It is a bit warmish, one might say.
It is. So that's kind of normal right now. We'll see it drop back down again. But right now, it's just in the low 80s. Okay. Not bad.
No,
still a healthy market.
That's not bad at all. So I understand that buyers need an appraisal when financing their purchase. So tell me more about that.
They do. So lenders require that there is a third party neutral to the transaction that goes out and verifies the house is there and it's at the proper place, the proper address, the proper tax ID number, and then they go through and do a series of measurements of the house to verify its square footage. They also look at that county record to see if there's any additions that were not permitted. So you get the best of both worlds from the appraiser and realtor, and then also then makes comparable adjustments to the subject home that they're doing the appraisal on and recent sales in the neighborhood. Now, sales would not be a year ago, 2 years ago, even more than 6 months ago. They tend to look for things that are less than 6 months in sales because that helps to indicate how is the market behaving in that area. Now, one thing about an appraisal and an appraiser, it's one person's opinion of value. So if things don't quite work out well on the appraisal value, then it can be disputed. Used to be where you could ask for a different appraiser and a different appraisal, but things have kind of changed with regards to the mortgage requirements. But anyway, if you make sure that those numbers are correct when you go to market, you will not have typically appraisal problems when the value comes in.
So I guess an appraisal can affect the real estate transaction.
Definitely can.
In what way?
Well, it can kill the deal. It can be where the appraisal comes in low. The buyer approaches the seller and says, hey, let's renegotiate the price down to the appraised value. And the seller may say, go pound sand. Or let's meet in the middle. Or let's... as a buyer, I'll say, I'll pay the difference because I really want this house. You got to pay the difference in cash. It can't be financed because the appraisal only says it's worth X amount. So that's how that process goes in case the appraisal is not favorable. It's not favorable for the buyer and potentially not favorable for the seller. It could kill the deal.
Yeah. I'm going to share a story with you.
Please.
Is that okay? I'm going to share a story with you guys. I think you're going to like this. So, in the olden days, back when dinosaurs ruled the earth, I did a stint as a real estate lender, a mortgage lender. And I had an instance. I mean, I was, young guy, eager, out there hustling because, I make money. I make a commission when I close a deal.
Wow.
So I'm excited about getting these things closed. And so we've got an eager seller. We have a qualified buyer. And the buyer is ready to rock and roll. We're ready to do this thing. Seller's excited. Realtor's excited. Buyer and myself are excited because I'm going to make a couple bucks on this deal.
Sure.
So I turn it over into underwriting and the appraisal comes in and the appraisal is low. And it's like, well, this could potentially kill the deal. So it's not going to go through. The buyer and the seller, and me a little bit, but the buyer is livid. He goes, I really don't care what the appraisal is. I want to buy the house. I'm willing to pay more for it. And the lender goes, nope. So it ain't going to happen. So what happens if I'm the buyer and I don't mind paying $10,000 or $20,000 more? It's my money. Let me go buy the house.
You can certainly do that. As long as that comes out of your pocket in cash for that difference, then you're taking the risk that the value of the house may eventually be what you pay for it. But you're saying, hey, for now, I want the house. I don't care. I will make up the difference in cash. This is my house to buy. And so absolutely you can do that. That is not something that would be denied or something that would be discouraged, because the banks or mortgage companies' value or their position is in place. They're protected. So if they would love to have you default, because they're going to be obtaining basically the extra amount that you've put into the house and then the actual down payment. So they're like, hey, if you get foreclosed on, we've got a nice little windfall because of the down payment that we take back from what would be your equity.
Yeah, I think that deal may have gone through after some negotiations with the buyer and the seller. I think they had to throw some cash in there to get the thing done. So, Bob, I'm gonna preview a little bit about our next upcoming podcast, but I'm sure you've heard this before. You know, Bob, seems to me that you have a really easy job. I mean, this is an easy business. All you need, you don't really have to do any marketing. You don't have to do any promotion or advertising because, well, they get the appraisal. This is the value of the house. Give me your money. All you do as a realtor basically is you open the door, you let people walk around, you write a contract, and they get in the house. And then you make money. How easy is that? I think everyone should be a realtor. It just seems so easy to me.
It seems like everybody is. Hey, that's kind of the interesting
Walmart
thing.
one day, realtor the next day.
You know, there is more to it that we're going to talk about in our next podcast as to what specifically is a realtor doing for that seller and for that buyer. And it is a lot more than just opening up the door and saying, hi, here's the kitchen. Here's the bathroom. Here's the master. Sign here, press hard, and I'll see it closing.
Yeah.
No, there's so much more to it. There's hours and hours and hours that are spent in having this come together in order for it to come to a successful sale or purchase.
I think that people don't realize or appreciate all the work that you as a realtor and all the other realtors do to help bring to pass the closing of these homes. I think perhaps on our next podcast, you need to share some of the hidden secrets that everyone needs to know about everything that you as a realtor and all realtors need to do to list and sell a home and get people into the home of their dreams. How's that sound?
That sounds like a winner. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, Bob, thanks for joining me today with another great episode of Let's Get Real. Oh, Bob, before we go, that cool house that we were showing, how can people contact you if they want to buy that?
Thanks, Michael. I appreciate it. It's 435-703-8824. They can call me. They can text me again, 435-703-8824.
And what's your website?
BuyUtah.com. That's BUYUTAH.com.
Cool. Bob, we'll see you again next time with another episode of Let's Get Real.
This has been Let's Get Real with Bob Richards from Bob Richards & Associates. For more information, buyutah.com. We invite you to return again for another edition of Let's Get Real with Bob Richards from Bob Richards & Associates. This has been a production of One to One Network.